Hello there. So we are the third part and the last section of this story, Coon story, a beggar story that has just lost his mainstay, his father, old ass. Let's see what happens next in this story written by Mr. a great writer, Mr. Nguyen Hio Thiep. After all Ha's death, Kun's fate did not change radically. He was still hungry and cold. But in the terrible winter of that year, Ziel married an unfeeling young man who carried merchandise. Kun followed every detail of her life. His observation made him feel that she was not very happy, Miss Dieu. Kun was not deceived. 3 months after the wedding, the husband made off with his new wife's property and fled to the south with a lover. So the new husband of Miss Dieu, brand new husband, left her and took her all her money and property. Dieu had lost everything. She fell ill and was so unhappy there were times when she contemplated suicide. Nevertheless, her spirits eventually started to lift. I think she was still young, right? So when you're young, you still can have energy to restart your life, despite all tragedies and misery you have been through. Remember, if you're young, it doesn't matter if you lost your mom and dad, you can still overcome all what happened to you. Trust me. Joy, trust. The day that her illness seemed to pass and she began to recover, her appetite was a gentle summer day. She sat in a row, looking out into the street. The sunlight shimmered on the canopies of the shady fig trees, the mango trees, and the ornamental shrubs. Nobody else was around, and all that could be heard was a disconcerting sound of wood borers grinding away in the corner of an empty closet. Miss Dieu thought of the market and her small goods shop. She wondered when she would be able to have another shop like that. She looked sadly out into the street. Then, suddenly, she saw Kun. You go down with your side to see Kun, because Kun cannot stand up. She saw Kun sitting up on the veranda outside the door of her house. He was feeling for something with his hands in a pursuit. Miss Dieu kneeled down and looked out of the windows as Kun opened a cloth envelope, like this. He opened a little envelope that old Ah had given him. You remember old Ah, when I was about to die, he tried to press into him to give him something. The envelope was made of dark brown cloth with a black stitching and was as small as a chicken's gizzard. Miss Dieu, chicken gizzard. Gizzard is this part, right, of chicken. What a description! What a description of Mr. Thiep. Always about animals. What is the reality of Vietnamese society? Animals, farm animal, cow, so horse, chickens, porks, pigs. Let's call that pigs. And so they try to describe things by the natural objects and animals you see around your everyday life. That's a great way to describe, and a realistic way. He said in an interview, Thiep, that he's a realistic author. His imagination and his inspiration starts always from reality. And they don't go far, according to him in his interview. Miss Dieu, let's go back to the story. Miss Dieu gave a sudden start when she saw some gold rings glittering in the palm of Kun's hand. She felt a chill run down her spine. Her arms and legs shuddered. I have no idea this pronunciation of this. Violently, I know what does it mean. It means this shrinking. And her thoughts flashed through her mind. Hey, blob with a beautiful face. She hurriedly pushed the door ajar and squatted down beside him. Hey, blob with beautiful face. What have you got in your hands there? Coon raised his head, stretched out his hand, and said in a tone of spontaneous pride, it was pride, rings. These are the gold rings old Ham gave to me. Real gold or fool's gold? Miss Dieu inquired as she grabbed Coon's hands. Let me have a look, she said, now holding three rather heavy, three bricks, three heavy rings, symbolic, the symbolism in this number. Remember, 3 bricks away, she tossed a coin, and now she's seeing 3 heavy rings in her hands. Let me have a look. Miss Dieu took each ring and let it fall gently on the slab of stone. She listened carefully. She held the rings up so that they flashed in the sunlight. Let me see this ring. She put them into her mouth and bit them. Good heavens, it's real gold, she gasped. There's a whole family inheritance here. This blob with the beautiful face is a truly rich. She blanched, laughed, cried, and tamped Coon's body repeatedly with her small fist. Real gold is not brass. Don't test it in the flame that burns a golden heart. You little puppy, how is it that I haven't known you till now? She's getting softer towards him. Coon, whose face had broken in an euphoric smile, swooned with bliss. Come in here, you rich little puppy. Come in here, she said. Mrs. Dieu panted, and she closed the door and pressed Coon's body down into a chair. She put on the rings, then clasped her hands behind her. She stood right up close in front of Coon's face and arched her body like a bow in front of him. Now, I will burn, okay? Miss Dieu laughed. She spoke with her thoughts sparkling like lightning flashes in her brain. Let me get that gold, she's thinking. You must first give me these 3 rings. It doesn't matter if you don't have them. You are still a beggar. You are still a beggar. About it, do you agree? I will give you whatever you want. Coon nodded with the corners of his eyes full of tears. He felt only pleasure, for he had made her happy. Wow. She had recovered, she was strong. Coon was enraptured. Can you believe it? This boy, always been alone, now he's feeling happy just for attention he got. But he didn't get attention for his beautiful face, for his words, for his generosity. He got his attention because of the 3 rings the father gave to him, the old hag gave to him. How about it? She casualed, as she bent down and rubbed her forehead against Coon's. What are you looking like that for? She peeled with laughter. Tell me, what do you want now? Coon raised his hand, but only made a vague gesture in space, because he was unable to activate the sinews in his arm. People who light incense and sticks in front of an altar also make gestures like this. So, I don't know what gesture he made actually. I'm trying to figure it out. Coon tried to raise his arm and maybe he wanted to say, maybe caress, he want to touch her, I don't know. Light incense sticks. You can help me to what kind of gesture monks do when they light up the incense. Alright, I understand now, Miss Dieu said. She sat down beside Coon and fondled him. You are also a bastard. You men are all the same, but it's okay. It's alright. That's the price we women must pay. It's okay. I'm only afraid that you can't perform, that you are an ill-bred husband of mine still can make me pregnant. That an ill-bred husband of mine still can make me pregnant. So she's trying to say, you want love from me. like every other man. But if even my husband, the husband who left her, he couldn't make me pregnant. What can you do? He's like, she's down looking at him. She looking down at him. She really is despisable to me. She's let's move. Miss Dieu pulled Kun out of the chair and slammed him onto the bed. She pulled down into the bed like here. And Kun was terrified. He screwed his eyes closed and pushed his face down on Dieu's quivering, vaguely blue, translucent nose. From his perspective, he could see just her nose. Okay? He was like someone flying in the clouds. He suddenly felt all... It's a dog, sorry. He suddenly felt all the bitterness of his life flow away in the flood of unknown relief. The pleasure. I'm adding here the pleasure. In the end, Kun had forgotten about all the time he had spent sitting in the streets. That means we are square. He could hear the sound of Miss Dieu's voice somewhere. Like he got completely deaf. Suddenly he got stunned by the closeness with Miss Dieu. He understood that he had just experienced something really wonderful. He felt empty, but had a sense of surpassing exultation that dizzied and dazzled him. Kun did not comprehend that this was the only opportunity he would have in his miserable life to experience this feeling. But this opportunity, in all its strangeness, would give Kun a son in 9 months' time. We almost finished with the story. So, thanks to this act, thanks to that goal, he could experience love, making love, but the brief feelings, very short feeling, got stuck. He couldn't even see her face, her body. 9 months later, Miss Dieu gave birth to a son. Some months before, she had said to Kun, "Hey, blob with a beautiful face, you are about to have a child." I couldn't have believed that anything as strange as this would have happened either. Kun was so happy, he was beside himself. Can you believe it? Now he doesn't care for anything else than seeing this child, his own child. He didn't eat or drink, and all that was left of him was skin and bones. He stopped eating, he stopped drinking. He could not believe he was going to have a child. Someone who was not yet a human being could still have a child. Could visualize it very clearly. He would move strongly across the face of the earth. He would never lose his balance. He would smile as he went through life. He would wear halo shining with many colors. He would be his son. Kun lived in an agitated state during the last months of Miss Dieu's pregnancy. He became seriously ill. His greatest fear was that the death would strike him before he knew what the child was like. He prayed daily for death's forbearance, and his prayers were answered. Death would wait until the minute his son was born so that he could take his place on the earth. On exactly the day that Miss Dieu gave birth, Kun crawled from his stall in the market to the window of her house. It was drizzling, so even rain came down, and the penetrating cold numbed Kun's body. His head was burning from time to time. He passed out. Only a little over 100 meters. Only a little over 100 meters was a great distance for Kun. Just 100 meters. Every He dragged every meter. I forgot to say meter, sorry. He dragged himself along the road. He struggled with death. Every meter he was there, as black as the night falling around him. Kuhn continued to the edge of himself along, meter by meter, as he pulled him back down into the mud. So he tried to reach Miss Dieu's house behind the market, while he dragged himself along with blood oozing out of his ears. With the blood oozing out. Look at this picture of this story. It's incredible, guys. The description. He groaned. Ow! He groaned. Like a beast, like an animal. He was not yet a human. They call him not yet a human. He considered himself not a human being. He reached the veranda outside the lamplights in the window and fainted. When he regained consciousness, Kuhn felt as though some immense object, very big object, large object, pressing on his body, like a mountain pressing his head. Kuhn opened his mouth. This is a Christian image. Our Lord Jesus was. He always felt a big pain on his head, a strong headache, pressing his head, and I felt that too. Kuhn opened his mouth. Thirst. His throat felt very dry. In all his weary life as a beggar, he had never been as thirsty as this. He tried to hold his breath to regain his strength. Alternatively, he passed out. Again, he passed out and regained consciousness. While he waited for a sign that his child was born. Then, in the middle of the night, Kuhn was suddenly startled by the sound of trembling cry inside the house. A trembling cry inside the house. Help, help! It was the wailing of the newborn baby boy. Kuhn knew that his child was born. Kuhn smiled blissfully and sank into unconsciousness. A very light wisp of wind glided over Kuhn's still face. He was like this, a bliss face. Kuhn was dead. He had really been short. I'm touched. It had really been short. This life of someone who was not yet a human being. Now, Nguyen Thiep gives a time. It was the winter of the Great Famine of 1944. Thank you for listening. Try to understand the feelings of this cripple named Kuhn. And if you want to read, if you want to listen to my story, read Nguyen Thiep. Of course, you can read by yourself. Let me know in the comments. I will share with you these books. I can share the full texts. Bye. What a story.